Hello, I'm Dr. Michael Donaldson from Dr. Michael Explains. I'd like to share with you today how changing your water can literally change your life. I'm a chiropractor out of Atlanta. I graduated in '96 and I've been in practice for about 25 years. I'm a husband, father of five. I've inadvertently became a hydration expert because of some personal things in my life. And now I spend most of my time doing philanthropy and helping others improve their quality of life. When I went to chiropractic school, I specialized in alternative care therapies. We did the straight chiropractic, but we also did a lot of therapeutics, did sports health sciences, neurology, uh, lasers, foot baths, detox, anything like that. We were really advanced in, and we've actually trained a lot of other chiropractors and other healthcare providers in that arena. But what made the change for me with water was my daughter was almost died from what's called gastroschisis, and the complications had me looking at water very, very diligently. And I literally focused nearly 10 years of my life into studying, research, and finding out what's the best possible water for the human body. Because when you realize that you're 72% water, all the other things that I was doing added up to the 28% that didn't compensate for the 72% that was water. What I'm about to share with you right now is not just clinically researched, but it's personally experienced in the hospital with my child. And it's literally changed our lives in every way possible. I mentioned that Skylar was born with gastroschisis, and they say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. When she was born, her stomach, liver, pancreas, spleen, small intestine, large intestine, bladder, ovaries were all on the outside, and they're actually in that tube. And I just can't praise the people at Scottish Rite and Children's Hospital of Atlanta for the phenomenal job that they did. There is no doubt that she would be dead today without them. I've had the unfortunate opportunity to talk with other parents who did not have such a phenomenal facility. That said, she was there for a year. She had a colostomy within a week of being born. When they reverted it, she ended up having to have a resection, and they removed part of her bowel. They put in feeding ports. She had another colostomy. And when they sent her home 2 weeks before her first birthday, they sent her home with 100 hours a week of home health care. I can't even begin to tell you the toll that that takes on a marriage, on the other children, your business, your life. It's literally devastating. And when we finally found an option to help with this, it was unreal. The biggest issue that a child with gastroschisis will have is hydration. Historically, it's always been understood that the bowel removes the last bit of water to make sure that you maintain proper hydration. Well, with gastroschisis, the bowel shuts down and they stop hydrating. The pictures that you see in the upper left here is what Skylar looked like early afternoon one day. And then when the bowel shut down, we darted to the hospital because she would literally start to lose weight. And it meant she was dehydrating. And this was after we revived her about 6 hours later, same day. And so you can see that it's a dramatic, dramatic change. And hydration is just the key to everything. And so that started me on the journey of figuring out what's going on in water. So I'd like to ask you this question. What's in your drinking water? What kind of water do you drink? What are the chemicals in it? What are the ways that it's processed? What's done to it? Does it have energy? Does it have electrons? Or is it chemically based? The human body is 72% water, but not all water is actually equal. Some of the best water in the world will actually improve your health dramatically. So tap water is kind of our municipal water supplies. It's water that's been treated, it's processed, could be taken out of lakes, it can be pumped back from sewage treatment plants. And they do a really good job filtering it when up, but there's a lot of chemicals in it because it has to be added to maintain certain levels of function. That's where you see your chlorines, your fluorides, your bromines, your toluenes, things like that. On top of that, there's a lot of corrosion in old systems that transport water through a town, through a city. Another really popular thing today is the bottled water, whether it's the alkaline water, the spring water, the natural water, the XYZ water. And those are water that have actually been usually pulled from any given source, and they're run through some form of reverse osmosis, which means They try to get it as pure as possible, and then they turn around and they re-implement certain mineral contents to have it a certain pH, certain taste, a certain flavor. And there's all the different brands out there. Another one that's old school that a lot of people do is what's called distilled water, and it's considered the purest form of water there is. The problem with distilled water is it's extremely acidic. It leaches minerals from your bodies, things like that. Filtered water is basically where a lot of people take the tap water and they just kind of run it through an extra filter to try and take out a little bit of chlorine, this, that, or the other. And then alkaline water right now is kind of a big rage because they're realizing that we need to have more alkalinity, and acidity is actually dangerous and it's unhealthy. There's another form that's called ionized water, which is water that has a weak electric charge to it. When you start to play with the water, you don't realize that when you say chlorine, you don't realize that you're drinking bleach. And the amount of chlorine that is in our drinking supply today is kind of scary. And that's because it's fighting off a lot of things. There's a lot going on in our water supply, and it needs to be treated properly. I would love to tell you that it's an unnecessary evil, but it's not. It's actually required in order to maintain a healthy water supply. What we do with it on the other end when we receive it is our responsibility. Another thing that most people don't realize is when you wash your fruits and veggies, that chlorine absorbs straight into the fruits and veggies. So you're actually eating it. And, you try to rinse all the garbage off, and, you wash your fruit, you wash your veggies. Some people even rinse their meat and things like that, but it's absorbing the chlorine. Your body does the same thing when you take a bath. It comes right through your skin. When you start to talk about pH, this is kind of where it gets a little sketchy because there's different ways to create pH. You can take Sprite, for instance, or any soda, LaCroix, bottled water, beer, hard cider, alcohol, and add enough calcium to it that you'll change the pH. That doesn't necessarily make it healthier. It just means that the pH is back in line with what the body needs, because the body should maintain a slight alkalinity for optimal health. That's just a fact. However, if you're constantly drinking things like sodas, very acidic drinks, juices, lots of sugars, teas, coffees, those are very acidic by nature, and they can really create health problems. It's not that you're going to have a massive shift in your pH in your body. It's that your body is going to deplete the minerals necessary to balance that out. So the healthier that you can get, the more alkaline you can get that system, the less stress you're putting on, for instance, the bones and calcium and things like that. Most people don't spend a lot of time thinking about what they put in their body. This is an aquarium, and it's a typical fish tank. And if anybody's ever seen a saltwater fish tank, people are really particular about the way they manage it. Don't tap the glass. Nobody would in their right mind think about dumping a 2 liter of soda into this fish tank because they know that would kill the fish. You've got organisms, you've got fish, you've got coral, you've got oxygenation, it's kind of like an own little ecosystem, much like the human body is. Well, we, on the other hand, put all those things into our body. And if you put those into the fish tank, this is what the fish tank would look like. It would be scummy, it would be gross, the fish would be sick. And most people don't realize that they've been putting these things into their body for years. If you could just imagine what your body looked like putting all those things in there, you're going to see a picture that's kind of similar to this. Well, bringing it back around to Skylar, we ended up discovering that not all water is the same, and not all water machines are the same. There is one type of water that's called electrolyzed reduced water. And let me just tell you, it is superior water in every single way. Take it from a father, not because I'm Dr. Michael, but because I'm a father. The fact that I was a doctor meant that I could really dig in and understand and read the research. But the fact of the matter is, electrolyzed reduced water is the most superior water on the planet. And it was literally a miracle before our eyes. Skylar literally, within days of starting to drink this, had rapid changes. Literally 80% of her symptoms had started to significantly improve within just 4 days. Now, that's not saying this water cured Skylar. Please do not misinterpret that. We were doing all the therapies. We were doing all the nutrition. We were doing all the right foods. We were eating ketogenically according to blood type and making sure that we had everything taken care of. But when we changed the water for her, it changed everything. In fact, within 10 days on the water, she had her very first solid bowel movement. She literally thought a snake crawled out of her belly. Um, and when I tried this literally under duress because a patient had brought it to me. And I'm like, I already understand all the pH waters. That's not what she needs. In fact, we'd had some health problems because of poor quality machines. Um, but literally within 6 months of being on this water and electrolyzed reduced water, we removed her feeding port. She was no longer in failure to thrive. Her clinical diagnosis was failure to thrive. She had a failure to absorb proteins, metabolize fats, any of that. And so what ends up now is that all started to fix because it's the best medium for the body to work and to heal. I'm glad to tell you that this is Skylar today. She loves to play. She's almost 11. She goes boating, she colors, she does music, she's in school. And, you know, we couldn't figure out why this water changed. This information that I'm presenting to you is what I wish somebody had given to me to almost 10, almost 11 years ago for Skylar. I bought the machine because she literally had a solid bowel movement. I took a picture and told my wife I was buying a machine, and I don't know why. Electrolyzed reduced water is like having a lightning strike on in your counter. The machine's a little bit smaller than your Keurig machine. Mine are side by side. But most people, when they talk about electrolyzed reduced water, like that can't be natural. It's the most abundant form of natural water in the world because that's what happens when lightning strikes the lakes, the oceans, things like that. It releases all these electrons. It's called the dissociation of water. And basically what it does is it takes the hydrogen bomb and oxygen bombs and blows them apart. So you get hydrogen, oxygen, hydroxyl ions in a water that is so excited that the molecules themselves spread out more and they can carry more electron charges. And so that is why it's the best water for hydration. It's the best way to carry nutrition. It's the best way to detoxify a cell because it can get in and out of a cell quickly. By that, I mean, there's a thing called cellular respiration. And if you look at this, you'll see that there's hemoglobin here, there's an aquaporin, and the cell looks like it's expanding and it's contracting. Well, what's happening is you have oxygen and nutrition going into the cell, and then you have CO2 and toxins being pulled out of the cell. Another component of that is the way that your body produces energy. This is the Krebs cycle. Those of us that are physicians will remember the nightmare that is this, but the reality is you have to oxidize pyruvate, drive it into the mitochondria through a hydrogen-rich membrane to create energy for the whole body. If any of those pieces are out of balance, you don't get enough energy. The only way you get this type of thing in your water is if it is electrically reduced. You have the hydrogen, you have the oxygen. You'll see here that there's extra electrons and it produces the energy. If you don't have that, the mitochondria shuts down and you start to burn sugars. Electrically changed water is completely different than chemically changed water. Chemically changed water is reactive in the digestive tract. It builds up in the tissues. It can build up in your kidneys because the calcium, magnesium, potassium builds up in those areas. When you have electrically charged water that breaks the bond, it's the hydroxide that creates the change in pH in relation to hydrogen. Because it's a natural process, it only lasts for a max of 3 or 4 days. It doesn't affect stomach acid because it's a charge that creates the alkalinity, not a chemical. So it won't build up in your system. You don't get any residuals. As of today, I have done research and I have not found any negative research that says electrolyzed reduced water is not superior in every way. And when I say research, I'm not talking about marketing research. The whole issue has become confused with marketing. If you want to look this up, look up electrolyzed reduced water in Google and then go like NIH or PubMed. In fact, I'm going to show you here a few in a minute. The everyday uses that we use this machine for, literally, obviously, the most given one is hydration. Because it's reduced, it gets into the cells better than anything else. There is clinical research that shows that it is over 100% more effective at hydration than any other form of water. You can look that up on Google. They took athletes and they did a dehydration study and found that, you know, they would get an uptake of about 3.4% when they used electrolyzed reduced water. That number went to almost 7. And so that increases the performance of the body, the muscles, the tissues, the organs. It can be used for everything from anti-aging, fertility, to just general health and wellness. And that seems to be, as our population ages, we still want to maintain the quality of our life. The second most important thing that I do with this machine is it gives you a new ability. I alluded to cleaning your fruits and veggies. Most people don't realize how horrific pesticides are, but they're actually designed with a petroleum base so that they don't wash off in the rain, meaning that they're not going to wash off in your sink either. So you're actually ingesting these pesticides whether you mean to or not. When you use electrolyzed reduced water in the highest alkaline form, you actually have the ability to break this down. And you can actually see in the picture, that's actually what came off those tomatoes, and I had already washed them in tap water. So that was the residual pesticides having pre-washed them. The third biggest area that I personally have found is the sterilizing effects of the strong acid water. It's called hypochlorous acid, and it requires the use of a salt solution in order to produce it. If you have a machine that has 2.5 water with no solution, you do not have hypochlorous acid. This is the most powerful sterilizing agent that we are currently aware of. And we are using it in wound care, using it in hospitals and nursing homes. We're using it with diabetics, MRSA staff, Kripke. I co-manage a lot of patients, and it's used in conjunction with all the traditional medical forms. It's not an either or. Patients get the best when you combine the two. And then the last one is household cleaning. We have an 18-month-old. I said I had 5. My youngest is 18 months old. And you're always worried about what's under the kitchen cabinets and stuff. And this water has been in a lab, tested against salmonella, mold, staph, E. coli, as well as other viruses and bacteria. And it takes about 30 seconds to eliminate this. And the best part is it's biodegradable, it's green, it's safe for your family, it's safe for your kids. Hypochlorous acid was actually discovered in the human immune system. It's part of the neutrophils. It's what sterilizes a wound. From the clinical applications, I wanted to include a little bit of research here because it literally blew my mind that I had been a physician for 15 years and had never heard of this. I want to preface this by saying electrolyzed reduced water is not a cure. It is not the solution to everything. It is a very significant piece of the puzzle. Yes, it was the most important puzzle piece for Skylar because everything else we were doing worked better once we got the right water in her body. But make no mistake, we were doing lots of other things. If we didn't make healthier choices, if you have a health condition, could it save your life? It probably can. It will at least buy you enough time to make changes in other areas. But if you don't make healthy changes, your benefits are not going to last. This is simply the best possible water to make sure that you can get the good stuff into your body, the nutritional uptake, get rid of the toxins, and help your body heal as quickly as possible. With that said, don't take my word for it. Go Google these very articles and you'll see that the information is out there. Electrolyzed reduced water, oxidative stress on DNA and RNA. Highly, highly effective at protecting the nervous system, the brain, and all the conditions that are associated with that. There's research articles on strokes and Parkinson's, MS, Alzheimer's, Asperger's, autism. Go look into them, dig into it. I'm sure you know people that have those things. Definitely really works well with anti-aging, works with diabetics. It's a free radical scavenger. Cancer is on the run. It's everywhere. And, there's a lot going on in our environment that's conducive to that. But this is a way that you can really help reduce that stress. You can look up breast cancer and electrolyzed reduced water, how tumors grow. It reduces the angiogenesis. That's the way they get blood works through the tumors start to grow. And so it became very, very important that this water, for me, to help other physicians, to spread the word, to spread the patients, to help other people. And part of our give back program, like I said, from the philanthropy is my dad died as a disabled vet. And so we set up a system where my mom, as a single mom, could have used this very information to help educate other people. And so we've really tried to tie it together. And one of the biggest areas that we've seen here recently is the hypochlorous acid. Hypochlorous acid is I don't know a single mom alive that doesn't have a kid that wants to play in the dirt, gets cuts, bangs, bumps, bruises. They're cleaning the house, they're cleaning the kitchens, sterilization. This stuff is amazing. It was FDA approved back in 2009, even for use for medical and dental equipment. I do have to say though, this isn't just 2.5 water. This is 2.5 strong acid that meets the criteria for electrolyzed hypochlorous acid, which requires a salt solution. If it doesn't have the salt solution, it's not hypochlorous. Here's the lab work. This is where we did tests on MRSA. That's a methyl-resistant staph, Kripke, Klebsiella pneumonia, strep, E. coli, which is in the food supply. So what we do is we use the 2.5 and the 11.5 to wash all of our fruits and veggies. There's been some recent scares with like, oh, don't eat lettuce. I've been saying that for years. No, I'm just kidding. Because of the E. coli contamination. We literally would just sterilize it. You can rinse it off, soak it in the 2.5, then you soak it in the 11.5. You break down the pesticides, you remove all the gunk, and then you can sterilize it. We do that every day. Even with the organic stuff, you'd be amazed at what comes off from it. The machine that I have currently using and have been using is the Enagic machines. It is not the first machine I used. I went through 8 machines trying to sort Skylar's dehydration issues, and Enagic rose to the top, not because of any form of marketing, but the radical changes that we saw in Skylar. Like in 4 days, they could not be ignored. And as I delved in to do more research, I found out that they are kind of the industry standard. They're the category king. Some people say it's an old technology. That's because they don't understand what they're talking about. For instance, they don't require 2.5 acid to make salt solution. The machine will do that without the salt solution. You have to have a salt solution to make the hypochlorous acid, which is the sterilizing effect of this machine. Another note is they're an original equipment manufacturer, which means they're 100% in control of everything they make. They don't outsource to the lowest bidder. They use the highest quality. And they've been doing it since the 70s. They've been doing top-notch work. They have had 40 years of experience to improve and perfect what they're doing. And when I get into that and I discuss it a little bit, I want to just touch on that for a moment. They have the most powerful power supply available. There's machines that have higher voltage, but they all have lower amperage. And you can ask any electrician, you can handle the voltage, but the amperage will kill you. They use a transformer and a switch mode power supply. And that's because that's the way to create the highest level of energy in the water. In America, we have 110 coming into the house, but you can use a transformer to ramp that all the way up. And then you can drive it through 2.5 amps, which leads me to the next piece. Their metal plates are the largest, thickest, and highest quality plates on the market. The surface area of the Enagic machines is 89 square centimeters, and 53 versus the average competitor. However, the thickness of the plate itself is really key. And what that means is if you were to put a competitor's plate in our machine, it would literally melt. If you have an electrician, you just ask him, do you want to run 12 gauge wire through a 15 amp breaker? They'll be like, nope, you're going to melt it right away. Any 20 amp breaker is going to melt a 14 gauge wire. You have to use 12 gauge wire with a 20 amp breaker in order to handle the current. Otherwise it melts. That's exactly what goes on with this machine. Another aspect is they have a superior maintenance and cleaning of equipment. They have a completely dedicated team that will detail your machine inside and out. I can save you a lot of time and a lot of money because I didn't buy this because I was looking to, change the world with electrolyzed reduced water and become an educator and become involved with hospitals and clinics all over the world. I bought it to save my daughter's life. And so what happened is when one started to work, I literally started to go through these machines. I took them apart, and these are my other self-cleaning machines. You can see mold in the lines. The plates were corroded. The platinum was dipped, but it's just such poor quality that it was actually creating health issues. So do I continue to look for machines? Absolutely. I am completely sold out to this company because they are currently doing the best machine on the market, across all different boards. So that's my intent. That's what I look for. I've now looked at probably, I think the last count was 42 different machines because I'm constantly looking for what's best. And that's just the way that I live my life. Next is the machine that you really want to use. The K8 is the new flagship. Like I said, the company's been around for 40 years. They had an SD501 that was the flagship for years. A few years back, they released the K8, which means that it has 8 plates. It produces 7 types of water. It's got the 3 types of drinking water, neutral water. It also has the 2.5 hypochlorous acid. It has the 11.5 cleaning water, has the amperage, has the watts, has the plates, has a great ORP. It really is the workhorse of the industry. It does better than anything else there. There are other machines that claim to do the same thing, but what happens is if they're doing the same thing, they may not make hypochlorous. To the best of my knowledge, the Enagic machine is the only machine on the market that uses a salt solution to produce the strong acid water, which is classified as hypochlorous acid. Another thing that came in very important is the Anespa. I freely admit to being stubborn. It took me a while to get the Enagic machine. After I had an Enagic machine, I didn't bother with the shower unit. And now I almost recommend it to everybody that that asks me. First of all, it's the only one on the planet of its kind. It's the only one on the market. It not only removes the chlorine, but it gives it a passive ionic charge. And more importantly, it has these tufa-radium minerals that are great for your body, great for your skin. They've been demonstrated to help be effective at treating thyroid issues, skin cancers, rashes, eczema, psoriasis. It's used in other countries. You've heard about the Japanese healing spas and things. So what they did is they mined those minerals and they actually put it in the shower unit. So it's a phenomenal thing. I bought it. I didn't really want to. We went to a friend's house who had one of these, and my wife, who suffered with adult onset acne, was really struggling, and we were at their house for 3 or 4 days and her skin cleared up. And so it was the best money I spent for my wife, and it was just phenomenal. And the reason that it's so important is your skin really is the largest organ in your body. I was having some health issues. I was having some hair issues and some thyroid issues, and I didn't even realize that it was because I was taking showers and taking baths and working out of the gym and going to the hot tub. The chlorine is literally everywhere. And your skin, being the largest organ in your body, filters the toxins and things like that. But what happens is it comes right through your body, right through your skin on an osmotic level. If you soak in a hot bath or a hot tub or a swimming pool, it's loaded with chlorine. Every 15 minutes you're in the water, that is the equivalent of drinking 1 liter of that water from that pool. That's the level of chlorine you'll absorb. Third product that we really recommend is the turmeric. I can't say enough about this. If you go and you Google turmeric, NIH, PubMed, you'll find that there is literally like 6,000 research articles pertaining to the health benefits of turmeric. This is the most natural form that I have seen. I had the opportunity to fly out to Japan back in 2013, walk the fields. They actually irrigate the fields with the Kangen water, and they process it with the 2.5 and the 11.5. So it's never been chemically treated. They use virgin soils. They make their own organic fertilizer. And the biggest thing is they've solved the riddle of the oxidative stress. If you go buy turmeric at GNC, for instance, you open the bottle, that oxidizes in less than a week. And it will literally reduce its shelf life, its effectiveness. It's an antioxidant, and that's what they've solved. They found out that they could make an organic-based, all-natural skin. It's prepackaged, individually wrapped, so the first tablet is as potent as the last one. and the tea is just as strong. They use it, it's all hermetically sealed so that it's just phenomenally powerful. I prefer the teas because I was a college athlete, very athletic, very busy, competitive wakeboarder, competitive tennis player, and I've got bangs, bruises, knees, ankles, nose, and toes issues. And I have found that if I drink the Ukon tea, I literally feel 10 years younger. The joints, the achiness, the stiffness. Also take the 4 caplets a day, just because it's got all the benefits of the essential oils from the turmeric, but it's got olive oils and pearls, vitamin C's, B's, things like that. So that's actually all part of what we call our trifecta, which is what we recommend all of our patients do. Clinically speaking, most people end up with a trifecta. They get a K8, they get a shower unit, they get the tea. Sometimes they buy them all at once, and sometimes they buy them over time. We have more people buying them all up front because they want to feel better now. They don't want to wait. I'm definitely open to questions. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. And if you'd like to, schedule a call, we can get you on the calendar, schedule a call, get your machine, and, help you and your family with your health needs. And hopefully we'll all live healthier, happier lives. So click on the links, find out where we are, get back in touch with us, and we'll get you taken care of.